Welcome to Fundamentals of Orthodoxy. And tonight we're going to be starting by going to the starting point, and that is all the way at the beginning. And what we're going to be talking about ultimately throughout these series of classes is our walk with God, because that's ultimately what we mean when we are discussing our walk of faith, is our walk with God. And that's what the book of Genesis states was our original function, for us to walk with God from beginning to end into eternity. And what are the first words of the Bible? In the beginning. And it's very important that we understand what exactly we mean. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. So we have in the beginning. What exactly does that entail? Like when we say in the beginning, what does it mean?
Start something.
What started in the beginning? When Genesis says in the beginning,
When he started to create.
everything except for what? Except for God. Except for God. That's it. Right. God existed before. In the beginning, God created, which presupposes God himself. So this is of utmost importance, because a lot of Christianity has lost the understanding of who God is and what God is. For example, years ago, I saw a Baptist preacher who was preaching, and he said, "Well, where did God come from?" And by the way, 5,000 member congregation. Where did God come from? Where did we come from? Well, everything we have comes out of God. Where else would it come from if he didn't take it out of himself? And my first thought was, did you go to seminary at all? Because that is not. God created all things, brought all things out of nothing into being. And there's a word for that, which is ex nihilo, which means from nothing. That everything that's created, he brought out of nothing into being by his creative powers. That's the difference between being created and just being formed, right? And so God not only made us in the sense of formed us, but created us. And that's one of the things, interestingly enough, in the Creed, whenever we settled on a final translation of the Creed, we wanted it to be accurate from the Greek, because instead of maker of heaven and earth, that's a little obscure, right? I mean, I can make a little clay pot, but I didn't bring it from non-existence into being, right? But I formed it. So the word make could mean form. But God both brought us out of nothing, all things, created out of nothing into being, and also formed them in the course of time. Now, so the difference between, so there's God, and then what is everything else? Everything else we would call, creation, right? So we are creatures. We tend to talk about animals as little creatures, right? But everything is a creature. So plants are, humans are, angels are. Everything is a creature, meaning was created. Formed out of things, brought out of nothing into being. So in the beginning, includes the angels, right? So the angels came into being too. They weren't co-eternal with God. They came out of non-existence, were brought out of non-existence into being at the same time. And So what's the first thing that that the Bible mentions that God created?
The heavens.
The heavens.
The heavens and the earth. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? And they were without form and void. So there's again where it's important to say created and make less obscure the made part, right? And then one of the things, the first thing that it mentions, he said, let there be what? Light. Right. And this is very important. That's why we light candles when we come into church, is that Christ said, you're the light of the world, but we're also remembering that we were created, that we were brought forth as non-existence and being, but he is the light of the world. He's made us lights of the world. It's another reason why we light candles. And of course, we also light candles for intentions for other people with that same understanding. And so this is very important. Another thing that gets lost kind of in Christianity, in other parts of Christianity that got lost, is the fact that it's in fact Christ who did the actual doing, right? All things, the order came from God the Father, but it was actually the Son who did the forming, the logos. And we learn even more about that in the Gospel of St. John, right? Which also begins in the beginning, right? In the beginning was the Word, the logos. And the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And so, and so again, this is very important because when we're talking about God and creation, we're talking about God. The word God signifies both the essence that God is. So, what the Trinity shares amongst themselves, right? But also signifies each one individually. And the same thing with us. And so, but something very special came along in creation. The last thing that was created, and that was what? Humans. Right. We have animals, right? We have sea animals, birds, and land animals, and mammals. And then we have humans created, and then that's it. That's the crown of God's creation. And some of the angels did not like that, as we surmise from the Bible and from Holy Tradition. And so, what happened was the most bold of the angels who rebelled against God because of this creation was whom? Satan. Lucifer, which Lucifer means light bearer, right? Or light star, as it was. And so he originally was a brilliant angel, but turned dark, and he became Satan and the devil, and which indicates deceiver. And so he came, and he still seeks the destruction of humanity, which is why our very Creator, the very one who brought forth humanity, decided to take on his own creation to save them from the devil. Jesus didn't become an angel, right? He became human, and he became human to save this very humanity from the devil who wanted to destroy it in the first place. Is there any questions so far? So it's important when we say orthodoxy that we understand what we mean. Right, so what does it mean? Like root word wise. Orthodontist, right? What is it?
Correct teaching. Correct.
Yeah, so ortho means straight or right, right? Like Orthodox, you go straighten your teeth, right? Orthopedics, straighten your back, right? Straighten your bones, yeah. And so Orthodoxy is straight, and actually this literally from doxy actually literally means glory. So Orthodoxy means two things. It means right belief, but it literally means straight glory or right worship. And that is a key thing that we have to understand, that God created us primarily to live in His glory and to live rightly in His glory. So more important than the right belief part is the fact that we're actually living in God's own energies, His own glory, whenever we, through prayer and above all through the sacraments of the church. That's what He ultimately created us for, on into eternity, to do that. But the only problem is we fell, and we fell because of sin. And so when we say sin, what do you think of when we say sin? What does sin mean? Was it?
Bad.
Okay.
Not following the rules.
Right. Anybody else?
Hamartia means to miss the mark.
Yeah.
So doing something wrong you think is right.
And hamartia, right, to miss the mark. And it also, like, means not, and artios actually means complete, right? So not complete, but it actually was used for ancient archery, as Mike said. So put him back, and no. He's a martios. He's not a good archer. He's missing the mark. So he's not going on the front lines to defend our entire country, right? That guy is, because he can hit the mark. And so it was also used in other contexts. But that is ultimately what. So when we sin, it means that we're not complete. It's not virtue that's being exercised. Right? And which is what God ultimately created us for. Virtues are powers, the powers of God, to do good. And so, when we say good, so is something good because God wills it, or does God will something because it's good?